This is Google's Search Generative Experience, or SGE, the latest update to Google's search engine and the most profound one in the last decade of digital marketing. As you can see, when we run an informational search like what's the fastest marine mammal, we've got this generative AI produced section at the top here, which seeks to answer the user's question directly without them needing to go through to any other websites. And that's why this is so profound for marketers, because if you've had a business that's been reliant on getting traffic from Google to your website, SGE potentially disrupts that. So in this video, we're going to have a look at what SGE is, how it works across a whole bunch of different searches, and most importantly, how we as marketers can take advantage of this so that we're seeing a benefit from SGE rather than, say, losing traffic or losing clicks or losing revenue. So going back to this search here, what is the fastest marine mammal? This is a very specific search and is actually something that the old Google was pretty good at answering, typically with a featured snippet. We can see the generative AI answer has actually bumped the featured snippet down the page a little bit. Now, this is a pretty good answer, no complaints there, but you'll notice that the generative AI answer also brings in some additional information and some more context. Most generative AI answers on Google also include website links here. Now, there's a big misconception here. These aren't necessarily the websites that the answers have been taken from. Rather, these are websites that corroborate the answer that the generative AI is giving. So the generative AI is providing the answer, and then it's linking through to other websites which back up that answer. Now, we can click on this expand box and we can see individual websites that corroborate each of the statements in this generative AI answer. We can also ask follow-up questions either by clicking these buttons or by writing our own question. So far in my testing, generative AI answers seem to be appearing for the majority of these type of informational search queries, i.e. queries where the searcher is looking to get information or knowledge out. For example, if we search for how to write page titles, you'll see Google has produced this generative AI answer which gives all of this info. It shows these websites here which corroborate that info and pushes down the organic search results further down the page. In this example, we see one of the flaws in some of these generative AI answers, which is excessive duplication. You can see that we've got a huge list of bullet points here. It's very difficult to process and consume this list because it is so varied. There's a lot of duplication and it's not necessarily sequential. For example, we've got include your page's primary keyword in the title tag and include your primary keyword in the title tag. These are kind of the same thing, but they're repeated. Now, you could say, is this answer actually any better than the featured snippet answer on this website? Possibly not. Another one of the dangers is that the model actually has no concept of fact or truth. That means that asking it certain questions about health could potentially be dangerous. When SGE was announced, Google was very clear to highlight that answers would be restricted for so-called your money or your life keywords. These are searches where the searcher is looking for information or advice about either financial or health. For example, somebody searches for, should I inject bleach? And Google says, yeah, sure, go for it. Then yeah. Now, because I love mischief, I couldn't help noticing that VP of Search at Google, Liz Reed, mentioned specifically that Google won't show an answer to a question about giving a child Tylenol because it's in the medical space. Well, that's awkward. And it turns out there are a whole bunch of health-related questions that Search Generative Experience is totally happy to have a whack at. They come with this humorous disclaimer: this is for informational purposes only. This information does not substitute medical advice or diagnosis. Of course, the irony being that this generative AI answer is actually pushing down the search results of medical advice and diagnosis. Nevertheless, on the whole, generative AI answers are less common for health-related queries and also much less common for financial-related queries. Let's say I wanted to find a new crypto to invest in. I couldn't get generative AI to recommend me a new cash black hole. Sad times. It would answer some financial questions, but not ones where there was implied recommendation or whether I was going to be actually making an investment decision on the back of it. Okay, so that's informational queries, i.e. questions where people are looking for information. But what about the questions that are most important to your business, i.e. the commercial queries? The queries from searchers that are potentially looking to buy whatever it is that you sell. Let's take a look at how SGE is performing across different types of commercial search. Starting with e-commerce, I've searched here for best e-reader 2023, and you'll see that generative AI has given us a fairly detailed answer, where we've got some suggestions at the top about some of the criteria that we might be looking to use to find our answer. And then we have some product listings down here. Now we can click on these product listings and we get this expanded product panel over on the side here, which shows that we can buy these from different stores. This functionality is powered by Google's shopping graph. This is a machine learning database of 35 billion different product listings. It has information on the different products that are available in each store, their pricing, their reviews, their pros and cons. And this allows Google to give really detailed and comprehensive answers to commercial e-commerce based questions. This panel over on the side is super detailed. You see this really useful section here, top considerations, and it gives references to different reviews of this product, highlighting things that they liked and things that they didn't like. Now, I think this is a really natural use case for SGE, and I think there's tons of potential here for Google to build in sponsored ads into this section. It's not perfect. For example, if you ask a question like which has the best battery life, you can see Google is just running a search for best e-reader 2023 with the best battery life, and I actually don't get refinement of the past search results ordered by battery life, which is obviously the thing that I'm looking for. So it's not perfect, and I expect we'll see further iteration of this. For some searches, Google isn't sure what the intent of that search is yet. For example, if we search for where to buy e-readers, Google clearly doesn't know whether this is a local search or an e-commerce search, and to be fair, it could be either. So what it does is it says, do you want a generative AI answer for this result? And if you click generate, it then gives you a list of local results. Each of these have a generative AI based answer and a bit of local information. Now we're going to come back to local results specifically a bit later on. Let's say that you're a service company and you sell to other businesses. Google is an excellent marketing channel, and we've helped B2B service companies get some ridiculous results over the years by getting them ranked and advertising them on Google. So how does SGE handle service companies and B2B specifically? Well, let's say that I'm running a search for best accounting firms for mid-market M&A. This is quite a specific search, and actually something that ordinary organic results may have struggled with because it is so specific. So how does SGE handle it? It basically gives us a list of accounting firms up at the top, but it doesn't tell us why they have been chosen, what makes them good. It gives us almost no information about them at all. Now you might think, yeah, but we can click on them to get more information. No, when you click on them, it thinks you're running an image search on their logo. Maybe you can see their websites in the links up here. No. Okay. So how does this compare to the regular organic results underneath the generative AI answers? Well, actually, these are kind of more useful because although they're not pretty, you can at least click to get more information. You can see some of the sources, and you can actually go on their websites or Wikipedia to learn about them. In the regular organic results, this type of search would typically be dominated by content sites. So websites that have aggregated lots of information about these firms and maybe have a table showing the pros and cons of each, listing out their revenue, the number of locations that they have, any specific experience they have in mid-market M&A. These websites would put the time in to collect that data, knowing that they would end up getting traffic from Google, and they could monetize that either by getting affiliate clicks or through other methods. And honestly, I think in this situation, that is the best result for searchers. Google cannot compare these firms. It can't build a table telling you that, yes, KPMG is the best. So instead we get this very generic output, which feels almost totally useless. By the way, if you're looking at all of this thinking, the pace of change in digital marketing is overwhelming, I can't possibly keep up. Don't worry, the team here at Exposure Ninja have your back. We have a completely free service to get you up to speed and get you building a plan for the future of digital marketing. It's called the Free Website and Marketing Review. All you need to do is go to exposureninja.com/review, fill in a few questions about your business. We'll then design you a bespoke plan for your business based on all the change that's going on in the world of digital marketing, helping you plot a course to growth through all of this chaos. It's completely free of charge, so go to exposureninja.com/review to see if you qualify. Now, if we were working with a B2B service company and we wanted to get them traffic from Google, there's another method that we would use, and that is to think about the search terms that a potential customer would be looking for, even if they weren't necessarily searching for M&A accountancy firm. So a search term in this space might be something like M&A financial due diligence checklist. This would be searched for by a potential customer who's a bit further up the funnel and doesn't necessarily know that they need an accounting service yet, but they're starting to do their research. So how does SGE handle this? Now, it gives a really long checklist with not too much explanation or background, some duplication, and again, nothing to click on to find out more information. This is another one of those searches where I'm not sure that the generative AI answer is necessarily the best. If you compare that to the featured snippet, for example, we can see who wrote this, we can see the credibility of the publication to make sure that we trust it, and we get a much longer and more detailed explanation of our due diligence checklist. Okay, so that's B2B service, but what about if you're selling a service to consumers, if you're a B2B service company like a trainer or a dietitian? Well, let's have a look here at a search for online dietitian for diabetes. And again, this is a fairly specific search. Now, the generative AI answer has given us two options here, Nourish or Teladoc Health. Both of these options are linked up at the top here, and we can click through to go to their websites and the relevant pages about these services. But of course, the question that you might have is, well, how did Google choose Teladoc Health and Nourish? If I was this top-ranking diabetes nutritionist, I'd be pretty annoyed that Google had instead referenced the position 2 ranking and position 5 ranking. So I did some quick analysis to try and work out why Google was recommending these. I looked at, for example, are these two the biggest players in the telehealth arena? Teladoc Health is big, but Nourish is a fairly small startup. These two options don't have the highest domain authority, they don't have the most content on the site, they don't necessarily have the most followers. So it's really unclear what Google's criteria are for recommending these two businesses. Now, this might seem like a small point, but it's actually not, because if people are going to trust the generative AI answers, at some point we have to know on what criteria those recommendations are being made. Otherwise, Google risks giving people recommendations which may or may not play out well for the user. And if people aren't able to trust the answers that they're getting back, then the trust of generative AI answers and the trust of Google as a whole is in jeopardy. Let's have a look at software, and in particular a search for best CRM software. This is a hard-fought category that companies are willing to spend a lot of money to fight for and get these leads. These are very valuable leads, and these companies would have a high marketing budget for each customer acquisition. So what does generative AI give us? Well, it gives us these options here, and it gives us a bit of generative AI copy about each one. Now, I wanted to know if the text being used here to describe these businesses was unique or if it's being pulled from another website. So I did a quick Google search to see if I could find any quotations of this, and there weren't any. So this does appear to be unique text which is being created by the generative AI. But we have a similar issue here where we don't know the criteria that these products or services are being recommended to us. And therefore, as a user, it makes it very difficult to trust these answers. If you just type into a black box, which is the best CRM for me, and it recommends you one, do you then just go and buy that thing? No, of course you don't. You have to do research to make sure that that answer is accurate. So the danger of giving absolutely no context to these recommendations is that it's actually effectively useless to the user. If it was instead saying, I've evaluated these criteria and I've recommended this business to you, then that's a much more trustworthy answer. But of course, Google can't do that. So I think the jury is really out here as to whether the generative AI answer is more use or whether people are actually going to find the regular website listings to be more valuable in this type of research. Now, because it's been a good few minutes since we did some mischief, I wanted to see if we could get the generative AI answers to talk smack about any companies. So I tried searching for why does Salesforce suck? Now, interestingly, I couldn't get the generative AI to give any sort of response to why does X company suck. So clearly it's been given a guardrail here that it doesn't talk smack about businesses, which is kind of weird because if you ask Google Bard the same question, it's more than happy to answer you. Okay, let's look at some local listings now and how SGE is giving local business recommendations. Now, let's say I'm in Santa Monica and I want some gelato. I don't want just any gelato though, I want the best gelato in Santa Monica. Well, here's the answer I get through generative AI. So we can see we've got 5 business recommendations here. We have some links to websites that corroborate this, and we can see Yelp being one of them. Now, in the local searches I've done, Yelp comes up time and time again as a site that is used to corroborate these answers. And then we can see a map listing down here where we can see all of them on the map. My hot take on this, is this actually any better than the local listings which are being buried further down the page? Think about it, right? Up at the top here, we've got the name of the business, we've got a star rating, we've got an indication of price, we've got the fact that they sell ice cream, and we've got some very, very top level location information. Then we've got this artificial intelligence generated copy here. If we look at the local listings below, we have all of that, but we also have their address. We also have their opening hours and whether they're open now. We also have a snippet from some of their reviews. And unlike the generative AI, if we don't see something that we like, we can click more places and get the full local listing guide. We can filter by star rating, price, and opening hours. Now you can click on these results and again you get this expanded panel here which tells you about the business, and I really like the design of this. I think it's great. You can see all the images here. You can click to order online or go on their website or get directions, so I think this makes sense. But as to whether this generative AI panel gives a more useful search results page to searchers, I'm not sure, because at the end of the day, you're limited to these 5 results. You don't see opening times without having to click on them, and you don't get those review snippets. Now, I ran the same search in different places just because I like to be thorough, and I found that it was the same websites being used to corroborate answers each time. For example, if we click on the expanded listing here, we can see Yelp being listed over and over again as a website that corroborates the data in these recommendations. We can also see that Google is using its own Google business listings as a corroboration source as well. But here I noticed something slightly weird. Let's say, for example, that I wanted to find out a bit more about this salt and straw place. So I click on this Yelp listing here. Now I'm looking for salt and straw. It's already less than ideal that I have to sort of hunt around. But what do you notice about this page? Salt and straw isn't even mentioned. Another thing I couldn't quite understand is the color scheme. Apparently, these colors are designed to match user preferences and are optimized for different types of search journey. But here I've searched for best gelato in 3 places, and I've got 3 completely different colors with no idea why each of these are being chosen. Maybe I'm just a dummy, but it seems to be kind of random at the moment. Okay, so that's search generative experience, but what do we do with this as marketers? Well, the first thing I think is really important to keep in mind is that this is very clearly early stages. I don't think this product is ready for public release yet, and if Google is looking at the data of how people are using this, I think that they'll find a lot of people are skipping the generative AI answers for the results that just don't make any sense or aren't as useful as the normal search results. I do think there are times when these generative AI answers are actually really useful, particularly if you're able to interrogate them and further filter your search through natural language. And I think shopping holds massive potential here. Unfortunately, at the moment, the shopping results aren't quite there because you can't necessarily filter your search by typing in follow-up questions. One thing that is abundantly clear with all this search generative experience and the equivalent stuff happening on Bing with Bing Chat is that the businesses that will win in this new era of SEO are the ones that are getting recommended, featured, and referenced on other websites. The more you can show Google and its large language models and search engine that your business is being recommended across the internet, not just on your own website, the more chances you have of being featured here. And that means things like local directories, getting featured in Yelp, getting featured on Reddit and Quora, and of course, doing digital PR to get recommended in high authority publications will be absolutely key. We haven't touched on advertising too much in this video because actually there aren't too many demos of how advertising is going to work with search generative experience yet. But we can expect that Google is going to build it right in. They're going to be trying to make their ads as unclearly labeled as they can possibly get away with in order to get as many clicks as possible. And of course, the PPC team and I here at Exposure Ninja are looking at this every day to see how Google might be testing pay-per-click ads in these SGE results. So what are your thoughts on SGE and these generative AI answers? Let us know in the comments. Are you pumped for it? Are you down on it? Or are you yet to be decided? Thanks for subscribing and see you next time.